In this video, we're going to look at the slope of a line. Let's compare these three lines. What do you notice is different about them? Many of you will say the steepness. When we're talking about the slope of a line, we're talking about its steepness. Another aspect of a slope of a line is whether it has a positive slope, negative slope, zero slope, or undefined slope. If we look at this line and we look at it from left to right, if we had to walk up it, we would walk uphill. We would say that that slope is positive. If we look at this slope, if we follow it from left to right, if we were to walk down it, we would say we're walking downhill. This is called a negative slope. If you were walking on this line, you would say that it has no steepness, or it's a flat line. This type of slope is what we call a zero slope. If you notice, this line is parallel to the x-axis. If you came across this line and you were walking left to right, you would run into it and bash your nose. This type of slope we call an undefined slope. If you notice for the undefined slope, it is parallel to the y-axis. Now we're going to look at calculating slope. Let's calculate the slope of this line. Something to keep in mind is a symbol for slope is always a lowercase m. The formula for calculating slope from a graph like this is m equals rise over run. First thing we want to do is find 2 points on the line that directly intersect the grid. We're then going to draw lines creating a 90-degree angle. We're going to count how many squares it takes to go up, in this case 4, and how many to go across, in this case 7. In our formula, the 4 refers to the rise. The 7 refers to the run. We're then going to reduce our fraction. In this case, it's already reduced. So there we have our slope, 4 over 7. After you calculate a slope, just double check and make sure you have your sign right. In this case, we see the line is going up, so it's a positive slope. Let's try calculating the slope of this line. First, we're going to find 2 points. Draw our line. Calculate our rise, in this case -6, and calculate our run, in this case 2. We're then going to plug this information into our formula. Our rise is -6, our run is 2, we're then going to reduce it down. -3. Again, double check your sign. This is a negative slope, and our number reflects that with a -3. One question I often get is, does it matter on which side of the line you do your lines? It doesn't. If we see, we'll take the same points as last time, draw our lines above, and it all works out to the same slope. Just remember your negatives. Try calculating the slope of this line. Pause the video, figure out your slope, and then resume the video. Alright, what did you get for your slope? If we choose 2 lines, and we draw our lines connecting it, we see that our rise is 0. We haven't risen at all. Our run, depending on your points, could be anything. I picked 6. If we plug this into our formula, we get 0 over 6, which we know is 0. So if you look at this line, it does have a slope of 0. It's parallel to the x-axis. Now calculate the slope of this line. Use the same process. Find your 2 points, draw your line, calculate your run and your rise, substitute it into the formula. In this case, we can see our rise is 3 and our run is 0. If we plug that into our calculators, or if we remember, dividing any number by 0 is undefined. If we look at this line, it's parallel to the y-axis, and it does have an undefined slope. Another way to calculate the slope is when you're given the points or the coordinates of 2 points on the line. We're going to use something called the slope formula. The slope formula is m equals y2 minus y1 divided by x2 minus x1. This will be given on your formula sheet. When choosing your x1, y1, x2, y2, we want to use the coordinates as we come to them going from left to right. So I'm going to label my coordinates. Here we have x1 and y1. The subscript indicate which number it is. For our other ordered pair, that would be x2 and y2. Now we just have to take our equation, do our substitution, and solve. So our y2 is 4. Notice I'm substituting into brackets. Our y1 is 1. Our x2 is 3. And then we're going to subtract our x1, which is 2. Calculate it out. We get 3 over 1. We always write our slope in lowest terms. So we would have 3. Double check your sign. Is this line positive slope or negative slope? It's positive. Good job. Alright, you try this one. Calculate the slope using your slope formula. Make sure you write out your formula, do your substitution, and have your slope in lowest terms. Pause the video, give it a try, and then resume the video. Alright, let's see what you got. Here I have my slope formula. I'm going to substitute my numbers in with my brackets. I'm going to do my math, a little review of adding and subtracting integers, and I get negative 10 over 14. I'm then going to reduce my fraction to get negative 5 over 7. Double check my sign. Yep, negative slope, and my slope shows a negative number. Sometimes when calculating slope, you won't be given a graph. Instead, you'll be given a word problem. In this case, we see calculate the slope of a line that passes through points 0, 6, and 8, 0. With this information, we can use our slope formula and substitute in our numbers to solve for slope. In this case, our y2 would be 0, our y1 would be 6, our x2 would be 8, and our x1 would be 0. Do the math and reduce. We get a slope of negative 3/4. Now what happens if you mess up which one's x1 and x2? Let's try it using the opposite ones. Here we'll say y2 is 6, y1 is 0, x2 is 0, and x1 is 8. Do the math and simplify. We see we get the same slope.